Hello and good afternoon, and you're very welcome to another webinar on our monthly release. I'm Sharon Mulligan, product expert here with Enterpryze, and you're welcome to another monthly release for the Challenger update that went live yesterday morning. So thank you so much. As always, this session will be fully recorded and will be made available, as always, on our website, and you will be notified by email. So I can see there's plenty of people just joining me there now. So without further ado, I shall start by sharing my screen, and let's just refresh your mind. If you saw the notifications pop up within Enterpryze yesterday, or perhaps you only returned to the office today, you would have got notification of all the wonderful features that we've brought to you yet again this month. So I'll remind you about what all of those particular features are, and we'll also dive into a live demonstration and take you through how to utilize them fully within your organization. So let me just start by sharing my screen. Let me just kick off there now for you, and let's just remind you exactly where we are this month for September with the latest release. So as always, bringing you a seamless update where there's been no interruption or downtime to your platform. So kicking off this month, we look at all the updates that we've done here around purchasing. And what we're trying to do every month with all of the different modules, and of course this is all as well as that information that we've gathered through the requests that you've submitted as well online through our roadmap page. So we are listening to you and trying to provide those key elements, key functionalities that will benefit you and everybody that's using our system. So at purchasing here, we looked at first the one-off addresses on purchase documents. So this is something that we already have in place for our sales documents. And what it very simply means is that you can go in, for example, when you're creating a purchase order or a purchase delivery, and you can create a one-off delivery address. So rather than that going to a designated, for example, warehouse address or just your organization address, that you can add in or create a specific delivery address. And of course, it's great value for dealing with dropship warehouses, perhaps as a vendor that you want to make sure that that gets delivered directly through to the customer as well, or to just a one-off special delivery. In addition to that, what we've done is we've introduced another way of fulfilling your stock and fulfilling the orders for stock coming from your customers, or obviously to identify where production orders also need to be fulfilled, particularly where there's a demand on the raw materials. And what we've done is we've given you a look in through your goods receipt. So that's where you've gone into purchasing, you've put through a purchase order to your vendor. The stock has now come into the system. You've come into goods receipt to receive it in. And once that's been received in, you can now click on Actions, click on the Back Orders button that you can see here on the menu. When you click on Back Orders, that will then activate a grid that will very simply show you exactly where this particular or all items on your goods receipt, if they match any current open sales orders, open reserve invoices, so that's again stock that you've committed for delivery to your customers, or open production orders. So that would be demand around your component items or your raw materials where you need to fulfill those production orders as well. And as part of that grid, what you can do is see all the different transactions, see all the different items that match the goods receipt PO. You can filter that as well if you only want to look at where the warehouse is matching. So for example, where you have an open sales order for, let's say, your general warehouse, and the goods receipt or the items have come into the general warehouse and you want to match up with the general warehouse, you can say only where there's a matching warehouse. So lots of different things that you can do on that screen. So of course, it acts the same as any other grid that we have throughout the system. But another nice little addition here is that you can then assign that particular transaction and add it to your picking list to ensure that the stock then is delivered in full to your customer. So moving on here then to accounting. So we've done a couple of primary changes here around accounting. And again, always looking at ways to give you information and bring the information to your screen faster, but to make life easier for you as well as you run reports within the system. So one of the primary changes that we made, and this is in relation to your profit and loss report and your tax report, and we've added quick dates or quick date drop-down menu. And really all this means is that we have provided you with certain date ranges, custom date ranges. Perhaps those are the ones that you utilize all the time. So whether that's for this month, from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, this quarter, this calendar year. So you can see there, even just looking at the screen, we've basically combined all of those date ranges automatically under a heading for you. So all you have to do is click on the quick dates drop down, select, for example, for this month or for last month, or indeed if you want to do year to date or quarter to date, etc. So all of those different collective date ranges that you can preset and pre-select from the drop down menu. And of course, as always, you can manually select the date ranges yourself. The from and to buttons are always there anyway, so you still have control over the date ranges that you want to implement onto the report run. So they're applicable for both your P&L and your tax report. In addition to that, around the balance sheet. So we've had a query in about the balance sheet, and in fact, just even in general throughout the reports on the accounting side, is to define or separate between what's local currency and what's foreign currency postings. So what we've done at the report level itself is that we have brought in, for example, starting off with the balance sheet report. When you first look at the balance sheet report, you'll now see that it displays the account or the overall account balance in LC. So LC being your local currency, and that's the currency that you are operating in for your organization. In some organizations, there may be a possibility where you also have a dual currency, so a system currency. So for reporting purposes, you'll be able to see the account balance in both LC and SC. In addition to that, for the foreign currency amounts, when you then drill down, for example, into a single currency GL account, a good example of that, of course, is your bank account. Most organizations, if they're trading in different bank accounts and different currencies, so that GL account is held in a single currency. So the example on screen there I have is a Euro bank account, but perhaps your organization currency is US dollars, for example. So what that enables you to do is to drill down into your bank account, to not only see the debit and credit values in your local currency, but to also see the debit and credit values in euro, in the currency of the actual GL account itself. So that's the FC or foreign currency columns. So I'll be able to show you how you can easily, just through the column chooser, when you're drilling into that GL account, simply display those on screen, and then it enables you to analyze that account even further. As I said, a great example of that is your bank account, because money is flowing in and out of that at all times. So you can see it there, just an example, the debit FC, and of course you can see that we also have the cumulative balance FC being tracked against the GL account drill down. In addition to that, we had lots of additions around the sales. So what we've done is we've increased the ability when you use the emailing billing functionality within the system, which is your feature that enables you to bulk email or bulk print or bulk send different transaction types to your customers, or for example, remittance advices for your outgoing payments. We now have a button that will allow you to select up to and including 50 transactions. So this has increased substantially for you. So another great addition. And of course, outside of the 50, if it's going to select the first 50, utilize your filters then to filter that further down. Perhaps you want to focus in on a specific customer or a specific date range. And then of course you can utilize that so that it optimizes the select 50 for you even further. So you can see that there, when you come into email and billing, you will simply see a select 50 button to allow you to select even more transactions on your email and billing function screen. Next up, we have the order date and number of days on the delivery grid. So the purpose of this was to give you more information against your deliveries. That when you review a delivery on the delivery grid itself, that you can actually see the original order date, and based on that, it will have calculated the delivery days, so how long it actually took to actually get that order to the delivery stage. So the example there on screen, you can see there based on the order date and the posting date, you can see there that, delivery days of 20, delivery days of 6. So it's showing you that, from the time that the order was added into the system to the time that it was actually delivered out to the customer, how long did that take? So how long are my deliveries taking? So that gives more insights to the behavior, more insights to, do we have an issue here around delivery times? Why aren't we getting products out on time to our customers? So you can see that now directly on your delivery grid. In addition to that, again, all around auditing. So what we've done here is we've added the creation date and the last updated date and time onto all your transaction grids. So when you're reviewing any of the transactions on sales or on your purchases, you'll now be able to see exactly when the transaction was created. Now, remembering that the posting date could be different, because the posting date might be when it was actually posted on the system. You might have that as a different date, but the creation date might have been a Monday. You might have had a posting date on Tuesday. So just for auditing, just for a quick audit and for looking at the grids and for understanding how transactions are being added into your system, you can see that information to hand. And as I said, it gives you the creation date and time and the last updated date and time. So if there's any quick updates, and as you know, quick updates can be done directly from the grid. So when you click on the purple WISE tag against your transaction number, it launches the WISE panel where you can do a quick update to your transactions. So for example, maybe you're going to change the sales owner or the buyer, for example, on the purchasing side. So if you want to update that piece of information, it will then time and date stamp when that particular transaction got last updated. So lots of great additions, and those particular fields that I've shown you in the last two options there for the order date, number of days on delivery, creation and last updated date and time, these are all available in your column choosers. So I'll remind you about that, of course, once we get to the live demonstration. So obviously there's been so much more. Obviously every month what I do is I release a Help Centre article that gives a rundown of all of the latest releases, and it's important to always check that out, because what I do there, as well as I have a demonstration, which is simply just a product tour, a walkthrough, a step through of exactly how to utilize that on the system. So I'd highly recommend that you check that out. I'll remind you at the end where you can find that article. And of course, our roadmap page, which you will also find on our website, which is enterpryze.com. And if you click on resources and then roadmap to see exactly what has been launched in this particular month. So all of these other great additions. So starting from the top there, we have under services and banking, we've added the project code that you can now assign on service calls and to incoming and outgoing payments. So that's important, of course, for tracking for costs and overheads and anything in relation to your profit and loss within the organization. And again, of course, particularly around the service calls, if you're using the project-based service calls, that you can also link it to that specific project and keep an update and an eye on what exactly is happening in relation to that project. And given that these are additional fields, of course, that means that even though they're on the transaction screen themselves, so i.e. on the service call and the outgoing and incoming payment, you can also display them on the grids associated with those transaction types. So don't forget about the column chooser at all times. Anytime we add a field into the main transaction screen, you will be able to see that also in the column chooser. Moving on then, we have the settings, lots of new settings that we've added. So please do check them out. And again, we're looking at minimizing the amount of work that you need to do when you're using the system. So for example, the sales settings, what we've managed to do here is to enable you to define and set the default number of days, for example, against the valid until date, which you have on your quotes, or the delivery date on your sales orders. So at the moment, when you go in to do a quote or a sales order, for example, it will automatically add in 30 days onto either of those transactions. Or you'll go in and change that yourself and manually assign the date. If, however, your process is completely different, and if, for example, on quotes that in fact they're only valid for 5 days or 10 days, go in and set your setting for that. So go into settings, module settings, under sales, you will see the default number of days for valid until or for your quotes. So set that to the 5 or the 10. The same, of course, will apply to the delivery date on sales orders. So set that for the one that is applicable to your organization. Otherwise, you can leave it blank, let it go to the 30, or simply amend that as you need it on a day-to-day basis. We've also added in some bank settings, which is where you can just add in the bank institutes that you rely on throughout the organization, and that would be when you're adding in customers and suppliers. We've now got a company address importer. So again, another way of bulk importing company addresses where you have more than one ship to or bill to per customer, that you can simply import them in the file importer. We've got a quick data entry for creating new bill of materials on the items grid. I might actually show you that one once we're doing the live demonstration. You'll see that that's just another quick data entry that we've to make life simpler when building raw materials to make a bill of material item. We've got some additions on reporting where you can see item and company selection prompts. So that's something that if you need to utilize that more, you need to contact support and make sure that any of the PDFs that you're running, particularly any of your custom PDFs, that they have that implemented against them. In addition to that, last month we launched an option for permission against your users where you can hide the account balances. So that's hiding your customer and supplier account balances for each of your users. So now this will include the overview tab that you see against a company. So once that's switched on, so once you're hiding the balances for your for a specific user, they also won't be able to see the overview tab on the company details screen. So that will now be hidden from view. So check it out. There's so much more, obviously, that I can go through. And one thing I don't want to leave out this round is just to introduce to you our latest integration, which is ShippyPro, which is going to make life so much easier around being able to integrate very easily and simply with hundreds of carriers worldwide to ship your packages. And very simply, from our platform perspective, we have an API connector available for that. It's added through our integration, our add-ons and integration menu, the same as all the other add-ons. And very simply, when you create a delivery in Enterprise, you will be able to send that to ShippyPro. So whether that's using a default courier or one that you need to add in that's specific to your organization, everything can use the default settings that are already there for the organization. It doesn't have to exist against a specific customer, but this takes care of this for all of your item deliveries within the system. So lots more to come around that. We're going to hold a specific webinar, which is coming in October. So do look out for that, and we'll be able to take you through exactly what it is you need to know to get set up and running, to have ShippyPro integration connected with Enterprise, how to initiate all the default settings, and then you very simply just manage the orders as they go through, which you can do on a single basis from the delivery, or you can use the email and billing function to mass bulk those out then to ShippyPro, and of course process those in ShippyPro against the carriers. And then we get the feedback from ShippyPro with the tracking ID and the tracking URL as you would expect to see it. So lots to come around that, and we're excited obviously to share all of that with you during our up and coming webinar. So let me jump into the live system and let me share with you this month's release and some of the exciting things that we've talked about there just on the presentation. So just bear with me now, and I'm just going to share my Enterprise screen. So let's do that. Fantastic. So We're in a demo system here, so I'm just going to remind you about a couple of the things that we spoke about there already on the presentation. So let's just go back into purchasing to start with. Let's just go to orders, for example, and if we were to kick off with a new purchase order, let me just grab a supplier. And another thing I want to show you here, that as we grab that particular supplier, if, for example, you have a supplier or a customer that has multiple versions or varieties of the same company name, and perhaps the only differentiator might be currency. Now you can see that when you do a lookup for a customer or supplier, we have additional information here on the right-hand side, which identifies, for example, the currency. So where I could have had maybe several Acme accounts, I would be able to identify if I'm in the right one, if it's the euro one, or if it's the dollar one, or if it's the GBP one, for example. And I can see that because I can see the currency on the right-hand side. So that's just another thing to take note of now that when you're using the system this month as well. So let's just select that supplier. And I just want to show you here in the Deliver To. So when I click on my drop down, of course, I get all of the usual addresses, which is, of course, is my organization address, and or if I have multiple warehouses and multiple warehouse addresses, I would have those listed here. But down the bottom here, I also have the one-off option. And very simply, I click on one-off. So this is great for the drop ship, or certainly for custom deliveries. And I can click in here and, of course, automatically populate and enter in the one-off address and save it. And that's as simple as it is. Once I have it populated here, of course, if I bring that to a target document, such as a receipt or an invoice, it's going to copy all the way through as well. So simply just replicating the great functionality that we already have on our sales documents. So now let's take a look at our goods receipts. So under our goods receipts, so let me just drill into one here that I have currently open, as if we've just added it to the system for the first time. I've got one here that's got one product on it. Let me just drill in and open up that goods receipt. And as you can see here, we've got that particular item. Perfect. And it's all going to the general warehouse. That's fine. Now I want to identify where there's back orders. So where do I need to fulfill, for example, any open sales orders or potentially raw materials on production? So I click here in Actions. I click on the Back Orders button. And this will launch the back order grid. So you can see there, it keeps me within the purchasing, and I can see there goods receipt PO 159. So it's matching the number. Currently at the moment, I'm looking at a list of open sales orders, but I can, if I have them, I can check for any open sales reserve invoices. And of course, if I have any, this product is sitting on any production orders, I can also check for those. I can specify that I only want to identify those open sales orders where the warehouse is matching, because it could have been that I received into an entirely different warehouse, but in fact, I'm going to be shipping the customer's goods from an entirely other warehouse. So in fact, it's not the same. So again, these are just variables that you can consider once you're looking at the screen itself. In addition to that, what I do is I get a list of any of the items that are currently on the open sales orders, and I can see that the item here matches the one I have on the goods receipt. Perfect. I can see exactly the sales orders. I can see the different sales order numbers. I can, in fact, if I wish, I can open those, or I can click on the quick update to see exactly the owner or any additional information, or I can open up my order into another tab if I want to view it separately and keep this running as well. So you can see here, it gives us lots of information. It tells me, for example, on this particular sales order, the number of item lines on the order. So again, I can launch my WISE panel to see all the different items on that particular sales order. But again, this is the one that's identified based on the match from the goods receipt itself. I can see if the orders have already been sent for picking and who they've been sent to picking to. So I know, great, that's grand, that's already gone to a pick list. However, if I now want to move the stock, if I have enough stock that I want to move it on the other orders, I can do that also from here. So I could select my sales order and simply assign it then to be picked as well from here. So I don't have to go back into items, go to picking, then assign it to a pick list. I can do it all here from the back order screen. So I'm fulfilling those orders straight away So a super great quick addition for you to get an insight as to stock that needs to be fulfilled. So whether that's to go directly to your customer or back into the production process as part of raw materials that are required to finish out production, that you're fully aware of the items on the goods receipt and where they match those open transactions. So I think it's a super addition. And as I've said, this is the grid. It behaves as other grids do. So of course you can completely operate it the same as other grids, run filtered reports. And of course, we've got the menu here where you can reset, export data to Excel, for example, if you need to analyze further. We do have a column chooser as well. So the column chooser, there's additional information that you want to see. As you can see here, if I scroll on down, I've got custom fields, which would be custom fields that you have against the transaction type. So in this instance, it would be the custom fields for your sales order. And of course, all other relevant fields such as the warehouse, the owner, salesperson name, total value, tax, and so on. So whatever you need, you can click and drag that onto the grid for further analysis. I think it's a super addition, one to be taken fully advantage of. And as I said, one that's going to help you with fulfilling lots of orders going forward. Okay, so next up, let's go on into accounting. And in fact, I think before we go into accounting, I did mention that I would also just quickly show you, I think it was one of the options, I just want to quickly show you because I think really this is a great addition. I'm just going to take off the filters that I have currently running there at the moment. So I mentioned about being able to create a bill of material item from the stock items grid. So how do you do this? Very simply, if you have decided, for example, that these 3 items are going to be the makings of a bill of materials going forward. So all I'm doing here is I'm selecting the 3 items. Currently as it stands, you know that you can click here to create a new sales order. What we've also done now is click on the drop down and you can create a bill of material. So another great time-saving, quick access within the system. So all you're utilizing there is the functionality, selecting the components, coming in here. You obviously have to populate your code and description, but what it has done is identified the item type as a bill of material. What it also has done is automatically populated the bill of materials tab with those 3 components. Now, of course, that's not set in stone. You can edit those, delete them, add more components on at this stage, but you've got the makings of a bill of material items without having to completely start from scratch. So just another quick way of creating those items on the fly. So now let's go to the accounting and let's show you what we've done in relation to the profit and loss, the balance sheet and the tax report. So starting here with the profit and loss. So now you can see the new quick drop down or the quick dates drop down that we've added to the profit and loss and tax report screen. And they're applicable to both of those because they're the reports that have the from and to ranges. The balance sheet and trial balance both have a to date on them. So when you click on the drop down here, you get your date selection and you very simply click on the predefined and you can see there it automatically populates your from and to dates based on your selection. So that one was for the quarter. The figures here on the right are automatically updating. So it's all happening seamlessly and simply as you select that date range. So for example, if I chose last month, same again, everything is going to get updated. I can see here it's gone back into August and so on. So all you're doing there is just saving you time from populating these fields manually, which you can still do, or by clicking on the calendar here to create your date selection. So utilize that more now going forward with the quick dates. And again, as I've mentioned already, the tax report as well. So here we go again. We've got the quick dates selection. So again, that will automatically populate the from and to dates to give you that running totals for those particular date selection. Moving on then to the balance sheet. So I've mentioned already that the balance column, which has always been there, what we've done there is we've now just displayed that as balance LC, and that's just simply giving you more information to say that this balance column relates to your local currency. In the instance where you have a dual currency organization, i.e. local currency and system currency, you will be able to see both of those columns here. So just something to make note of for the future. And then of course, when we drill down into the drawers, I want to bring you down further then to our bank accounts that I mentioned already about the foreign currency amounts. So I'm going to scroll on down here and I'm going to drill in to our Euro bank account. And what I've done here is I've displayed the debit FC and credit FC. So as you can see here, the combination of journals, incoming and outgoing payments, just a few of them for this year so far. But now I can see compared to the local currency, what the foreign currency amounts are on that GL account. Because this particular GL account is a single currency, it's held in euro, but I want to be able to see those amounts and analyze them. Again, it's great for the likes of your bank account to identify the different values. And of course, as always, we've got the column chooser. You can export the data to Excel. So if you can't currently see those columns, simply come in here or click on this button here to the column chooser and click and drag those columns into view. And as well as that, we also have the cumulative balance FC, which you will also get from the column chooser. So some great additions around the accounting, as we've turned out a lot of UI changes this year all around accounting, and just to make the information relevant and easier for you to retrieve and see across all GL accounts. Okay, next up on the demonstration here is everything that's changed here within our sales currently. So let me just go straight into email and billing. So what we have here in email and billing, against any of those transaction types, you will see the select 50 button. And that will now select up to and including 50 transactions. And very simply, if you want to take that selection off, you simply just click at the top of the column, or if you want to deselect individually, as always on screen, you just tick the box here. So as I've mentioned, top of the column here to unselect, and then select again if you want to select up to and including the 50. So we've increased that dramatically. So now you can specify which ones, of course, to email or to print, etc. And then carry on the actions that you require from there. So you'll find that throughout all of the different transaction types. Now if we go back a step to our deliveries grid. So this is where I've mentioned about the order date and the delivery days. So this is where, for example, where the order date and delivery days differ. So I've taken this from the column chooser, again, just to remind you. So the three dots here, the elliptical menu, click on our column chooser and you can simply search for those columns. I have them on display here already, and click and drag those to view on the actual grid itself so that you can see that information. In addition to that, I mentioned about the audit fields that you can also now display. So if I scroll on down to the very bottom, you can see here creation date and time, and we can see last updated date and time. So this is where, for example, if something was exactly what date, if it was different to the actual posting date, when it was actually created, when it was last updated. Let me just show you that very quickly. So if I drill in to this particular delivery here, for example, and if I wanted to change, for example, a custom field or to add in information, I can update that here. Or maybe if I look at this more so on the sales order screen, let me just do it here in a sales order, because obviously here I can actually update the information. So let me just take one that's open. I'm looking at closed documents. This probably is what's causing me the problem there. Let me just go back to orders for a second and look at this one here that's open. Brilliant. So let me just change this to a different sales owner, for example, and add in new remarks, because it's going to be at today's date. And let me just save that. So this is the second order line here, which is 651. And you can see there that the last updated date and time has now been stamped against it at today's date and obviously at the current timestamp as well. So just to show you, that's how simple it is. That's how easily it works on the audit to bring it all the way through for you. So lots to take in. As I've said, my recommendation is, if you are unsure about how to utilize and how to start using the latest functionalities, drill into help.enterprise.com, into the knowledge base, come in here to news and updates. Come in here then, of course, to Challenger. It's always at the top. My latest document is always at the top here on the latest updates. And when you drill in, I've listed everything that has been updated, but more importantly are the demonstrations. And these are simply your walkthroughs to take you through exactly what changes have been applied, where they are affected within the system, and how you can utilize and implement them on your organization. So it's important that you take full advantage of those articles at all times. And that's it, as always, for this month. And obviously, it's by no means feat a small update, as always, trying to bring you more and more value every month. If you check out the roadmap page as well on our website, what we're doing there at the moment in relation to the roadmap is giving you information around what's to come as well. So do check it out. That has been updated as well. So you'll see the button here at the top of your screen. We've obviously got the submit suggestions, and they're the ones that we listen to and take on board as best we can when we see the benefit and value that they will have in the system for everybody. So that's where you submit your suggestions, and then to see what's coming next, simply click on that button and it'll take you down to the section to see all the exciting updates that are coming over the coming months through October, November and December. So we will keep you up to date at all times through the roadmap page, and that's obviously important to us. But at all times, we would love to hear back from you. As I said, submit your suggestions here on the roadmap page itself. Or if you want to give us feedback, if we're doing it right or doing it wrong, let us know, marketing@enterprise.com, as always. So do let us know how we're getting on. But as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, which will be soon enough, as I've said, around ShippyPro, and of course, on the next release for October, as always. Have a great rest of day or evening or morning, wherever you are around the globe. Thank you again. Take care.